Actions we'll have to know, but with that right logo, must be time for game number 2.
Yep, let's do it. Pick and ban for game 2. Blue side will be now occupied by Gen G. DWG Gaming now having to ban away those more powerful picks. We'll see what they are going to go for as far as their desired outcome there, because the Cassiopeia, we'll see whether it sneaks through yet again, because it wasn't necessarily the Cassio that had any real impact on how that game ended.
And you think again about what the bans were, Jace, Aatrox, Camille, was largely about Noguri, right? And we also had the pre-match where Peanut, Cuvee all talking about how good Noguri is, the top laner of W1D1 Gaming. The issue with just banning out top lane carries that are in the meta is that Noguri would just say, what about GP? What about Quinn?
Rise.
You know what I mean? He'll always have something. He has an extended bench because he's a carry player. So I think it's much smarter to ban away other tools and take your focus away, and I think Gen G have obliged. Jace maybe banned towards Noguri, but Galio and Cassiopeia, will Showmaker just jump on the Lissandra that didn't work, or will we see something different from the W1D1 mid lane?
Yeah, certainly a few different options here for Showmaker. I personally want to see is Zoe up against LCK level opponents, because he played it a hell of a lot in Challenger and had an absolutely disgusting win rate in KDA on that champion.
And that's the fun thing if all the focus is on Showmaker is, what about 5th pick on the red side? Because that's the time when Showmaker can pull out a very impressive last pick. Now, W1D1 haven't been finding their victories from that ever since they played Katarina in that first game right at the start of Kesper Cup, so we're not sure we're going to be seeing any Showmaker last picks, but with the Urgot taking him first round, the ambiguity will be extended for a little while.
Yeah, Rakan, of course, was banned in second round by Gen G in game number 1, but these aren't necessarily jumping off the page as crazy like first pickable champions on the W1D1 side. Aurelia, however, is certainly gigantic priority. I don't think we've seen her off the ban list so far today, and in fact, she was banned in game 1 and both games of our first series as well.
Flex laners for Gen G, 2-way flex on the Aurelia, 3-way flex on the Victor, and I think this is actually a pretty good time for Showmaker to lock in the Xayah. Xayah Rakan can go in against whatever hodgepodge lane it is, whether it's Victor bot lane or a more traditional AD carry, and does shave off some potential matchups that lose pretty hard to Xayah Rakan.
And now
this is at the cost of a jungle, though. This is going to be at the cost of a jungle to the side of W1D1 Gaming. They will definitely take some jungle bans, you would imagine. Probably time to start loading in the Kha'Zix ban, even if that matchup has been successful in the past.
You can imagine the Canyon does have a few other options, but I certainly agree with you. Make sure that you can tighten that champion pool as much as you possibly can. Ezreal to be banned away, followed by, most likely, that Tahm Kench on the side of W1D1 Gaming, just to get rid of as much comfort for Gen G as possible. Kha'Zix, like you say, taken away. And there's the Tahm. Didn't even need to think about it, apparently.
See what Canyon will play. As Camille looked pretty clean in the Kesper Cup, but Camille priority's definitely lower and lower, and Sejuani was always a matchup where she could just ult you in the mid-game and you got turned on and died if you weren't already way ahead. So we'll see what the Gen G choice is here. Double banning jungle's definitely one way to go, but they won't. They'll ban away the Rise. Very interesting here.
Wow.
It is a Noguri favorite. Nuclear plays in the bot lane as well, and Showmaker's played it in the past. So I can understand it to some degree, but it's not like Rise excels against the matchup they're in, and we're going to see an oldie but a goodie.
That is an oldie.
We're going to see the champion that only we saw Tarzan dare to play in Kesper Cup. We weren't convinced of it at the time. It went on to win, but it felt a bit in spite of the Taliyah pick. We will see Taliyah jungle, another strong skirmisher that it's going to be very difficult for even buffed Sejuani to outdamage.
The thing that's really exciting now is that, yes, we get to see this cool bottom lane picked up. Leona Varus is certainly very high octane and does give you that Leona counter matchup into the Rakan as well. A lot of power there. But now Showmaker does theoretically have that counter pick option there in the mid lane.
What's he laning against?
That is the
Aurelia,
question, I guess.
Heavy expectation, but no guarantee. And they're going to take Vladimir for Noguri, most likely.
Who's laning into who right now, I guess,
I think
is the question.
Noguri looked fantastic on the Vladimir in Kesper Cup, so almost certainly going to be the choice. That's the one SKT fans will remember, the hard carry champion for him, to eliminate SKT from the Kesper Cup. That means it's most likely to be this Vlad versus Victor matchup. You don't feel great about it because Vlad gets his items. Victor doesn't have as much mobility. He's fast with the Q, but if your Q is ever not available, and if he takes a Ghost Flash, there's a possibility here with something in the Unsealed Spellbook, or Predator is taken by Noguri. Very hard not to be taken down the side lane, but that's the matchup Cuvee will have to contend with.
Yeah, so many different options for the Vladimir. You can see that you're going up against a Vlad and still not have any idea how you're supposed to actually build out the opening kit for your champion. So Excited to see what actually is going to eventuate from what Noguri decides to go with as far as Keystone and everything else. Klepto, will it actually be there for the victor in a range versus range matchup? You'd assume probably, but still a lot of questions to be answered. And now the bottom lane, far more traditional, far more standard, not having to bring out any of the weird cheesy stuff, and you'd feel like that puts things in favor of Ruler and the incredible hard carry performances he's had in the past.
I'm just not willing to cash in that check, Atlas. I know where you're coming from there, but I think of Vladimir versus this comp, and he dives in, and how are QV and Ruler going to min-max their damage when they're taking 3-4 item Vladimir AoE? They're probably kiting back. Aurelia's then alone in the backline. If the Vladimir gets to a certain item threshold, you do feel like Vlad could be the game breaker in this game. And compared to the Victor and the Varus, you definitely give the mobility advantage to Xayah, Rakan, Urgot, and their ability to maneuver away from some of those Gen G threats.
Yeah, and also, like, who you're maneuvering away from if there's a wall in the way as well. But here we are on to Summoner's Rift for game number 2. Let's hear what the fans have to say.
Gen G fans going to wait for DAMWON to try a chant, not going to hear it. Chants come in, and Atlas, the reason why the camera lingered is that's Crown skin being worn by Canyon, so a bit of gamesmanship here. Crown has already gone on record and said he doesn't like seeing junglers use his skin, so he's already very much, you know, very opinionated about his Taliyah skin, but we're seeing it against Gen G, and that's a fun thing.
Yep. We are only a Gnar and a Jarvan away from having all of them in this particular game. As I haven't checked out the bottom lane.
Hoyt is not agreeing with you there.
Yeah.
He's decided to go to the Cosmic side.
Thankfully, Nuclear is there with us, so we're fine.
We'll have to wait. I don't know if I've ever seen the Samsung Galaxy bot lane skins be used by another Korean team just yet. Both of them at the same time.
I haven't seen. I don't.
We've
think
seen
I've
one and the other. We've
seen
the mismatch, but
well, we've definitely seen. Well, we've seen actually the owners of the skin use it in the Asia Games. That was an exciting one. Watching the whole crew pick up the same team comp.
And people around the world will be happy to see that's not a comet. That is going to be lethal tempo onto Ruler, so the much more standard auto attack Varus that theoretically should have a happier time in the late game.
Yeah. Also should be able to scale into the mid game just fine as well if they can get the right fights for him as well.
And you also say they held their bot lane for long enough that they have Leona versus Rakan considered a counter pick because the Zenith Blade follows through the battle dance and all the mobility that a Rakan has, and Ruler can outrange on trades and get some good harass in. So this is actually, once again, a strong 2v2 lane, but not to the degree that we saw in game number 1, and Gen G couldn't turn that into a meaningful advantage, even though they had the Vel'Koz Varus counter picks to the Morgana. So given all of that, let's see what Canyon can make sense of this. He's level 2, but level 2 Taliyah is already a terror.
Yep, a lot of wards available here on the side of DAMWON as well, so they were able to spot whether any wards have gone in very recently, and now he's going to make his way in. Is that seismic shove going to land? It is going to hit onto Life, who tries to get out. It isn't able to quite get in there. We do get the knock-up right on the edge as the last auto. Is it there? And no, it's going to be the Ignite, and Hoyt picks up first blood on the bottom side.
Level 2 Taliyah damaged champions wasn't nerfed, and that means the champion goes down. So much patience. There was a Jaws-like moment as we were waiting for anyone to show something, but Hoyt only revealed himself after the W was already on the ground and revealed. Really nice timings and understanding of damage output from DAMWON.
And also juking out the Zenith Blade that would have saved Life's life as well was really beautiful.
Life goes down, not overkilled by much in this case, but taken down. Nice gank timing, and Canyon was so patient, he was level 2 and chilled for 20 seconds, waiting for the right moment to strike.
And wait for it, he did. Found it as well. So DAMWON now with a slight lead in this early game. Gen G are going to jump on the fact that he was spotted. Bottom side, Peanut should be able to get rid of his chickens, but it looks like that trade is going to happen on both sides. Canyon's still definitely very happy with how that one worked out.
Happy enough to trade camps. He took both his big camps, so no worries about getting 3 buffed by the enemy. Hoyt and Nuclear already recalling a range. Don't see that often as Rakan versus Leona.
Cool thing about it is I guess they can just right-click each other and both head out at the same time, as Life has to overextend to try and deny that one while Ruler is busy clearing out the minions.
Got your answer, by the way, because it's not a range versus range matchup, going to be Just going for the summoner area for some poke trades is Cuvée. In the early game, before you get 5 points into your transfusion, it's relevant, but obviously Vladimir has plenty of sustain coming up a lot later.
Yep. Phase Rush being picked up by Nuguri as well, so not necessarily the most common, as Peanut turns up in the nick of time, and he's going to land a lot of damage. The Seismic Shove is going to at least get him out. Zenith Blade is going to knock down a lot of those little rocks on the ground, but that is not going to be enough for Canyon to survive through it. It will be a trade as life falls down once again. 1-for-1 probably feels a bit better here for Gen G.
Really interesting that Canyon never used his flash in that engage. There were a lot of follow flashes available, but holds on to his summoners. They get a 1-for-1, but it requires the time of the Urgot, I assume teleporting to bot lane instead of teleporting back to mid lane. We get the confirmation of that, yes. Remember, his flash is open. He can just flash over the fat part of the wall is what I was trying to get to. But instead, they're just hoping that he could escape on a sliver. Not to happen. They get the confusion there, and the damage comes through. But Showmaker, instead of teleporting to mid lane, comes bot, loses half a minion wave, but the answering kill and the flash still, importantly, available for Taliyah.
Yeah, it does mean it will still be an advantageous trade here for DAMWON. Keeping that pressure up on the bottom side is especially good, but Ruler does have an advantage here with the big wave pushing in as Canyon spots Peanut there poking his head out for that moment. And Fly with a big minion wave to deal with won't be able to back up the Sejuani as Showmaker turns up. And that will mean Rift Scuttler should go over to Canyon as Peanut with a little bit of damage down, but pretty comfortable as Permafrost is going to be denied by the Disdain.
Importantly there, they know Showmaker's not level 6, and they can check in with their mid laner and ask Fly, hey, how far are you away from level 6? They know there's not enough experience for it, so no chance of the level 6, so it would mess up the potential 2v2. So it's just Peanut trying to stick around and maybe smite away a minion. And speaking of level 6.
Yeah, Fly's got there. It's not the same sort of matchup where you're seeing a mage and you're like, well, Aurelia just kills them at level 6.
And that's actually rewind further, Atlas. It's not really a Fly champion, because it's Fly on Aurelia, kind of like when Crown was attempting to play some of these champions at Worlds and looking a step away. Fly is Aurelian Soul. Fly is a Zoe player. But when it comes to things that play 4 lane rather than dodge lane, he struggled on champions like that before. You definitely don't think of him as an assassin player, even though he's had some LeBlanc games in the past. So given that, we still have to remain to be convinced a little bit that he can be as clean as some of our other Aurelia players will be over the course of LCK Spring.
And right now he has a bit of a smorgasbord of items as well as he's heading towards the Phage. And the Sheen wants to probably get the Sheen as quickly as possible, but couldn't quite afford it. So not feeling the strongest right now on the Aurelia until that item does come in. Showmaker very, very comfortable now. Very even on CS though in the mid lane, top lane. A similar story, but Nuguri with a slight advantage. Life down here on the bottom side. Ruler still making that Q look like he's building lethality, but he's not. He'll draw the Cutlass now in his back pocket.
And with his support dying twice, you'll notice still up in CS is Ruler, because the Varus does very well in the matchup. Again, it was a first round Zyra Khan, so there was plenty of rope given by DWG Gaming to Gen G, but they already subverted expectations in game number 1 after counter picks, and we're still waiting to see Gen G actually find a kill in the bot lane during the laning phase in either of the games.
Yeah, and also, both of those kills, at least contribution went to Nuclear as well. So despite the fact that he is behind a little bit in farm, he's still doing absolutely okay as far as his trajectory towards those first 3 items. Peanut gravitating towards the bottom side of the map alongside Canyon. Good jungler sense for both of these guys to realize where everyone is. Control ward at the back of the pit here will be cleaned out, or at least noted by DWG.
Side control would be a pretty big thing for DWG to evolve, because then Canyon has the global to be able to threaten.
Wait, unfortunately,
Korean caster reaction there was enough.
It was. Don't
Peanut's
worry, he
coming in
auto-attacked
anyway.
him. Now, what is that? I think that's a visual bug.
Man,
yes, it is.
that was an epic visual bug.
Yeah, that looked like Peanut had a Kha'Zix ult that didn't quite exist. Because
that looked like, well, my AD
him.
carry missed his ult, so I'm giving up my life. GG.
Yep.
But no, just a visual bug, guys. On our end, the players did not have to survive through that one.
I think that's because Peanut didn't put in like a different command for quite some time or something like that. As Canyon, he might need to be worried at this point in time. Half of his health bar taken away, but Peanut, not a lot of follow-up.
Yeah, we see it most often with Shelly. The Rift Herald is the one,
And
because
Sion,
it has
yeah.
very fixed movement commands that looks really wonky, and it seems like Sejuani somehow
That was definitely the
as
longest
well.
one I've ever seen.
It was, because it was like 6 seconds.
Yeah, and he's just chilling behind Okay.
Well, you know who's not chilling?
Life. Life is, oh no, still going to be able to use the flash to get over, but I actually thought that he'd shorted the wall there a little bit too much.
Hoyt, in his attempt to be charming, charmed the minions because he was a bit too frisky on pulling the trigger on that one. That means ult is down. Always a potential to turn this around for Life, but yep. A couple of summoners blown, but nothing else in the bot.
Yeah, not a lot of, as far as time is concerned for both of those ultimates as well. Weave as well as the quickness should be available relatively soon. See whether Canyon is going to make another bottom lane journey. Right now, heading towards top side, where his only camp that he has on the map is available in the Krugs.
Just CDR abusing from Nogari for now, but eventually will have a lot of impressive items to his name.
That was a little bit frustrating for Hoyt, who wanted to just join in on Nuclear's back, and then Nuclear decided to cancel it. A little bit foolish. Nogari, okay, it's found Cuvee. Not a lot of mana here on the Victor.
Yeah, Cuvee dropped the ult to push it, and then Nogari tanked up the minion wave, so that frustrated Cuvee. That's what it's always about. We've had it as early as Reginald's level 1 ignites on Annie mid lane. It's all about lane control, baby, and whether you do that by ulting or zoning out the enemy. Cuvee wanted to push, and Nogari said no thank you.
Yep. When it came to I think Chaos Storming minion waves, I think Doinby is the one that did it actually every time he hit level 6.
He was the first to do it, for sure. Yeah. That was always the meme when I was watching your LPL cast in the breaks of my LCK games.
Yep. Good times. As Hoyt grand exits that tri-brush, but so much vision available here for DAMWON. Very comfortable on the bottom side, which is certainly the danger zone when it comes to anyone facing off against Gen G. Ruler, so strong in the laning phase, especially on a champion that's able to command so much respect like this Varus.
In a game where the jungle matchup's been a lot more even than it proved to be in game number 1, do remember that you're kind of going camp for camp here. Talia doesn't obliterate people's farm numbers anymore from the jungle because they nerfed her clear speed.
Yeah.
And because of that, if we come in with equal gold Sejuani and Talia in the late game, you pretty much take Sejuani 9 times out of 10, barring an amazing play with the ult or maybe even the W. So given that, the reliability of Peanut's role in this game is kind of ironclad. It's basically 100%. Meanwhile, for Canyon, you have to be creative to make the Talia work. You have to really use all of her abilities to its maximum, and it's no guarantee right now, 11 minutes into the game, that a 2v2 skirmish involving junglers is won by the team with Talia.
Well, at the moment, Peanut's looking for a bit of a gank here towards the bottom side of the map, and Talia is off the map right now. Darkseal was purchased here by Canyon as he goes for a little bit of a back, but already had that Runic Echoes completed. So now, once again, it's Peanut's chance, and here's the Wombo combo. I thought there might have been a Rakan there, but I could have also been wrong, Papa.
That's what you do when you have the Leona against Rakan. Just kill the Rakan whenever he walks up. He was sitting in vision. Nogari on the top side going 50-50 on this trade. No summoner advantage here, so no chance of a solo kill. But there's a good news story. The counter picks are finally leading to kills in the bot side. Rulers Play the Ruin King will be finished very soon. So this time at least, there are no Infernal Drakes to go begging for DAMWON. That looked possible a few minutes ago when Talia was getting some good moments in. Now that bot lane is losing 2v2, things getting a bit cleaner for the side of Gen G.
Yep. Nuclear a little bit too far up here as Hoyt coming down doing the same thing, but here's the replay. Nuclear had
been spotting the ward there for a long time, but then stepped out of the brush. And so Hoyt was not to know that there was now a ward in there. Could have expected it, but didn't know for sure. And well, all the buttons were pressed and someone was dead.
Yes. And that CC bar that we always look out for in moments like that, yeah, it was very white for the entire time.
So people sometimes ask, what is the CC bar? It's above, actually. The traditional bars you look at, the first one, we call it the chocolate bar, it's the health bar. Below that's the mana bar. Above it's the CC bar. It's in white. Let's wait for it. There it is. It's just where the name was a second ago is Hoyt.
Yeah, thanks, Hoyt, for getting CC'd for us so that we could at least have a look at what the
I coordinated that with Hoyt before the game. Don't worry about
got it.
I just said 13-28. That's when you need to face check and show us the CC bar.
Well, have you coordinated this top lane dive? As Cuvee might be a little bit surprised about this one as Canyon just steps up. There's a gravity field there, and look at that burst damage. Just amazing. And Nogari picked up the turret aggro, and he's got a sanguine pool to get out of it.
Feels like we're watching synchronized swimming, and we're holding up 10 boards right there, because that was that was super clean from Nogari. He didn't actually have ult to begin it, and then it actually ended up being overkill, because Victor's still very squishy. The Hema plate goes down. Cuvee follows up pretty quickly. That does mean they know jungle is topside, though, and we're going to see an Infernal for Rift Herald trade between the two teams.
Yep, Peanut knows that he's been spotted there as well as the ward just died, but nothing really going to be done about it because this Rift Herald will be the trade that's accepted by DAMWON. Not a lot that Gen G can do about it. So Showmaker here in the mid lane as we check in on the CS. Fly certainly doing a great job there, but hasn't been able to bully the Urgot around or anything like that, despite the fact that that Trinity Force has been gained. Black Cleaver on the side of Showmaker, not exactly the same kind of power spike.
This is one of those rare games where we have, carries on both sides. We have 8 carry champions. This guy has 7 in a Sejuani, but she does enough damage these days.
Yeah, feels like a carry.
We're actually, the Infernal for Rift Herald trade, which is usually pretty 50-50, right? Because Infernal's so good with 1 stack, and Rift Herald gets you a big lead pretty immediately. It's not a scaling Drake, for example.
Yeah.
But this is one game where I think DWD1 Gaming would have probably preferred the Infernal, just because they had the Vladimir, and that would have made the time for which Vladimir reaches critical mass and kind of wins the game alone a little bit earlier. But I don't feel like the Infernal, let's say there's no counter Infernal for DWD1, I feel like it's not enough to nudge Gen G meaningfully ahead like it would be in other games, just because Vlad is going to be such a monster if he keeps up his CS. And at 156, 20 CS up in his lane, Nogari's definitely, the forecast is cloudy for the 5v5 team fighting for Gen G later.
And being ahead of the clock at 15 minutes is no mean feat as well, especially with just the amount of minions that are there. He has not missed many of them, Papa. As Chaos Storm going to be utilized once again from Cuvee, he's been feeling the pressure like crazy on the top side. Down almost 30 CS, and Nogari now doing his best singed impression on the top side.
He's proxying the wave, and right now, Peanut hasn't walked up to ult just yet. They don't have deep vision. Very smart lane control ward. Makes us play way harder. If you have lane vision spotting if the jungler is behind the turret, Peanut goes in instantly. But because the double control ward is there, they get the chunk out. Nuclear will now have to move back, but they're sending more members. How long can DWD1 keep this turret up while Vladimir grows his lead top?
It's actually very cute that they were able to get the Rift Scuttler as well as clear out vision and let them know what was going on so that Nuclear could get that wave. And yes, first turret goes down on the top side of the map.
Solo gold, baby.
Yeah, this Vladimir is already in terrifying scenarios. Level 12. We normally talk about level 9 as being the time where it's really time to respect the dude, but obviously that time has been and gone, and Cuvee has been chaos storming minion waves ever since.
And DWD1, now they show the respect and say, all right, we got what we wanted. We don't need to stay bot lane for an extra minion wave on our AD carry. This play was to guarantee Vlad solo gold. We got it, we get out. Vladimir holds this game in its hands, it feels like. And speaking of Vladimir,
well, he is going to make his way into the mid lane. Are they just going to try and guarantee the outer turret is the question. Gravity Field comes in. Now the Wombo comes down, but Hoyt gets out of the way with a really nice battle dance, and all they're going to get is that turret. But they're not going to lose anyone else. Nicely done here from DWD1 as Peanut gets seismically shoved back, but otherwise he's okay.
And that means Leona and Sejuani ult on cooldown for no gain, a net loss in fact.
Yeah.
DWD1 Gaming can back away. The deep vision that right now making this warding play as Hoyt a suicide, because Hoyt gets seen by Peanut. He says thank you very much, ults him, and of course we know how squishy Rakan is. Instead, Hoyt can go for a very deep vision mission, and in fact, they're boar hunting.
They got lots of people here, and the boar is looking mighty fine at this point in time. Feel like
I've had wild boar. It is delicious.
I've read a lot of Asterix comics, okay? I understand how a wild boar looks. I don't know what it tastes like, but damn, it looks tasty.
I mean, that's comics. Actually see, we actually got the synergy going here, because I was a huge Asterix fan myself.
Yeah.
When I finally got to eat wild boar, it was a great moment.
It didn't disappoint?
No,
it didn't. Because I've actually been scared because I don't want to ruin that image in my mind of the most tasty thing ever.
Recommended.
All right. Maybe we can go for boar sometime.
This game number 2 hasn't been as much of a bore as game number 1, which we appreciate.
That being said, I think, yes, I agree it was slower. It was definitely slower, but game number 1 had a lot of intricacies and interesting stuff to it. I still was a big fan.
Hey, not everyone is about, different strokes versus different folks. It's kind of a situation going on there. We got all of those things going on this particular game. Nuclear comes in, wave clears. The 30 CS lead to Ruler in the bot lane is probably the most apparent thing, but right now the items aren't the oomph items, right? He's got a Merc Treads rather than the Rage Blade.
Yeah.
Maybe the Rage Blade timing and utilizing that to its maximum is what we really have to inspect from Gen G, because Nogari, look at those items.
Yeah.
He wants a death cap, a pretty sweet hat, and also maybe some move fast boots, pretty fast.
And that move fast orb as well.
Yep.
The Spellbinder wants to pick up one of those if you can find it. Let's just go as fast as we possibly can. But he put the brakes on it. He was like, hang on, I'm doing really well. I'm just going to buy 2 of the biggest sticks in the shop, and let's turn it into a hat and go to town.
Hungary from a flank is probably going to be a multi-kill. So because of that, Gen.G have to be pretty on point with how they play this Drake. Notice it's not a Infernal this time, it's Peanut.
Yeah, taking way too much damage there as the Arctic Assault was very late, but they just explode the Vladimir. It was all a bait the entire time. They trade 1 for 1 as Fly does end up going down, but that's not the team fight that DWG1 wanted. They wanted to find a whitewash there, and instead they find themselves without their Vladimir.
And in desperation, they use multiple summoners there just to get a kill out of it because they're so worried that with Noguri dying instantly, this could happen.
He's in so much trouble. Cube still does a heck of a lot of damage as the death rate, not quite enough, but the Chaos Storm got him the heck out of that fight, and Peanut has already started off this Drake health bars and what we need to be careful of, but Ruler still has a piercing arrow, and we've got 6 seconds on a teleport Vladimir that Gen.G needs to respect.
So important that they blow up Noguri. Ends up being a 1 for 1, but because of the teleport, that's the last point that we have to note. The teleport being up means that they have to back away. It's also only an Ocean Drake in comparison to the Infernal. Noguri comes in. Let's watch for a W timing. The CC bar once again is there, and it never actually ends from just the Glacial Prison being enough to take him down.
And it was so strange because it looked like Peanut had just AFK'd from his computer or something weird like that, but capitalized on it beautifully.
Noguri has not gone for Merc Treads this game. He has just stuck with the, I need to be an AoE burst threat build, and I can't fault him for that, but you have to be safety first with your use of the Sanguine Pool then. You can't afford to be backloaded or try to dodge an ability with that. Instead, turned upon, dispatched, and that does slow down what was feeling like an advance from DWG1 Gaming. In fact, if you inspect the gold, there's nothing to split the 2 teams.
No, it's exactly the same now. DWG1 even a turret in the lead, as you can see Fly making a visit towards the top side, so might be able to actually even out what is the standing gold on the map, putting Gen.G in the lead, largely to do with the fact that mid lane and bottom lane are ahead. So we need to start looking at the team compositions. Will the Vladimir be the immovable object? Will it be Gen.G behind Ruler with this far more DPS-focused build, able to make their way in the late game? And I think everyone's thinking, let's hope it's Gen.G so we can see more out of this matchup because it's been so back and forth and so interesting. With how it's been worked out, turret traded will be the answer here as Peanut unable to steal away the Krug camp from Showmaker.
And waiting also to see what Fly can get out of Aurelia, because if this was BDD on Aurelia, we'd really be sliding the game more to the side of Gen.G. We'd be saying things like, well, if not for Vladimir, everything's lined up. Aurelia should be able to look at Talia, Xayah, or Rakan and basically one-shot them and get in and out very easily. But because this is Fly, I believe his competitive debut on the Aurelia, given that particular fact, we are going to be waiting a little bit more and see if he can fulfill the potential the champion innately does provide.
Did land that Vanguard's Edge, so that's certainly something to put into the bank as far as doing well. DWG1 now starting to extend an advantage, able to open up a few more camps for themselves, get a little bit more invading done. They do have the extra turret under their belt, despite that trade happening earlier on. Peanut waiting in the wings. And could this be the time where Canyon starts to slip off as far as his relevance, and Peanut starts to improve as far as his, as he gets tankier and tankier, providing that front line that Gen.G needed.
So let's tell you what you need to look for. So here we go.
Yeah, lands the ult. Peanut trying to demonstrate that for us right away as Chains of Corruption not going to get in there as Canyon does his best to escape, but there was no getting out of that one as Cuvée just plops the Chaos Storm right on top of him.
And a point I wanted to draw our viewers' attention to, really in the spirit of that discussion, Atlas, is that the choices DWG1 have made against Varus, Sejuani, Leona. Basically, a pick CC train that never ends.
Yep.
There is a cleanse on Nuclear, no QSS, and Canyon's choice was to go Sork, Shu, Zonias, which says, I will not make the mistake of eating the first CC. I need to be about my positioning and choosing the right times to push up. They chose the wrong time, and Gen.G have a comp that will punish you to the biggest possible degree, and especially as the Smite wearer, you can't make mistakes like that. You have to play towards your item choice. If you choose no QSS Mercs, you can't face check like that.
Yeah, and Canyon, of course, going for those Sorcerer's Shoes very early. In fact, I think it was immediately after completing that his first Runic Echoes. Just wanted to have the power now, which is what Sorcerer's Shoes certainly gives you. I can understand that thinking, but I'd probably bring it back. Noguri now has that sweet hat in his back pocket, building towards what could be a few different items, but Zhonya's does come to mind if he wants to even things out on the Zhonya's count with Canyon.
Don't have the secondary trees here, but knowing it's sorcery, wonder if there's a Gathering Storm also onto Noguri. Could understand Scorch in a squishier matchup, but I am hoping there is the Gathering Storm there, because right now the fat stacks are already started 20 minutes into the game.
He's going to need as much as he can as well, because now Ruler's gone back. He's got himself some Mercury's Treads as well as the Hex Drinker. Might get a Wit's End later. You know, this guy is not going to be touched by a lot of magic damage. A lot of it going to be about Nuclear getting off these feathers in the right spots and Showmaker really putting him in the grinder.
I'm actually not 100% clear whether Peanut actually has enough health for his Warmog's passive to apply. I know the nerf was there and required Kindle Damage changes, but he's got extra pro level. She got extra pro level health, remember, when her passive was nerfed. So I'm actually unsure about the break even on it.
It's above 3,000, isn't it?
It looks like we can tell visually.
Yeah,
it's
so
about
he is above
3150. Yeah. So that's cool to know. So I guess Cinderhawk Warmog's probably now the go-to. No Kindle Gem required like there was before.
I think it's about level 11, level 12 when you get those two online.
Yeah, previously you needed kind of a Kindle Gem into a Knight's Vow, but with the extra health per level, getting that confirmation now that you can go back to the old build and for 2 items be a very beefy Sejuani.
And also go in, use that beef, and then come back out again, and then everything's okay. They do get themselves an Infernal Drake here to DAMWON. There's going to be 2 available for them, augmenting their Ocean Drake they already picked up. Still in some control, still able to push this one forward, but the gold is in favor of Gen G. Can DAMWON find the fights that they're looking for? They're looking for it now as in goes the quickness. Grand entrance there, but Ruler does have the flash to get him out. The Weave as well, the Vanguard's Edge. Massive damage coming in from Fly, but Life is getting taken down. The Vladimir is still gigantic, and the Aurelia is going to fall. Crimson Rush not there, but the Chaos Storm is going to fall down. It's a 1-for-1, another Grand entrance, but Hoyt has to get himself out of there, so brittle.
DAMWON continues to fight because TP is still up on the Vladimir. Wanted to bait Gen G and continue to play this out. They won't get that particular reward, but that was a lot closer than we might have expected. Showmaker missed his ultimate at the start, so there was no Fear Beyond Death to be potentially arming. DAMWON walks up.
Yeah, Cube, the flash from Nuclear actually just trying to burst him down. He's so close to death, but is going to pick up the kills. And now Life, there is nothing he can do. He's a facilitator, not a killer. That Zenith Blade is not going to find Nuclear, and DAMWON Gaming steal all the kills and the turret.
And that is some next level calculation coming through from DWD1 Gaming. The subtitle of this season, it feels like, is all about the advance of the new generation. Griffin the big favorite because of their domination of Kesper Cup and impressive performances last year. DWD1 are the other new hopefuls joining them. We watch the replay here. It begins with a Talia wall into an excellent engagement. I love this as set point play. The ult doesn't get any value onto Ruler, so no Fear Beyond Death. And while they start the advance here, there's no further capitalization, and Ruler can't get too many autos into the fight.
And Showmaker's Disdain actually just pulled the Aurelia away from Hoyt so that she didn't have time to activate, had to go straight into the Hourglass. Oh man, there were so many things that went on in that very small window of time. I feel like it has happened to League of Legends. People have been saying a lot about it being a little bit more bursty these days. Certainly does mean that there is so much more going on that we need to think about. That was no exception in that particular fight. And everything going to hell afterwards in a handbag.
Now, because the Baron was taken during the replay, that's a really big tipping point, and you better hope you blow up Vladimir before he starts pressing his buttons, because the Void stuff is now done. I like how he's never bought a stopwatch this game. Why would he need one?
I like how he bought a Fiendish Codex and the Amp Tome. He's like, oh, I'll build a Zhonya's. Things are going to be great. As maybe interrupted here as Canyon gets a flick back on Peanut, but he's got the Warmogs. He's going to be more than happy.
There's a sidestep on an unseen ultimate there from Varus. So Varus on cooldown. Kind of a donation, a gift to the side of DWD1. Showmaker himself with no flash gone cleansed, so he can walk up and face check Brush and have a QSS effect. Stopwatch up on the Xayah and also the Talia.
And the classic Weave as well, just to get them out of the way of this turret as the Baroned up minions. Not going to go down anytime soon, and this one is about as free as it can get. DWD1 looking so clean with their macro play all series long. That was our question for them when we started this. It's continuing to look good as they want to blow up the Vladimir yet again, but he gets the Sanguine pull-up. Hoyt able to stop the Leona from being able to further CC the Vladimir. They managed to pick him up before he can get out of there again. Of course, Leona not so good at doing that, and already Showmaker makes his way to the mid lane.
They just don't have the burst damage to kill him, even though his pull was late. It didn't matter. That means they lose out in every single way. Showmaker gets most of the inner turret. Bot lane inhibitor turret goes down, and Gen G, they're on the ropes.
Yeah. This Nexus, only a couple of turrets there, but Nogari, he's just going to get rid of the champions underneath his ruler. See you later, mate. You are not going to survive that Hemo Plague as 2 members die in the blink of an eye. Fly looking on in horror from the relative safety of his fountain, but how much safety actually is that? As life turns up, wonders why everyone is dead. You're going to have to go home. It's a 2-0 for DWG Gaming in their debut game at the LCK.
What a statement to be made by the new challenger team, now LCK rookies, a 2-0 over the runners-up of the Kesper Cup in Gen G. A fitting answer to the question of, okay, DWG were 3-0'd by Griffin, Gen G 3-0'd by Griffin. Which of the teams is stronger? Triumphantly today, we can say DWG Gaming. Nogari has this Vladimir that he's had up the pocket. It worked against SKT, it works against Gen G, and when the clock strikes Vladimir, DWG Gaming take down Gen G and show us they will not just be Scrim Gods, they have something to show in LCK Spring 2019.
Yeah, Scrim Gods, solo queue gods, and now, in their first game, undefeated so far. Nogari, all of that hype, but still able to deliver a well-deserved bow for DWG. Just fantastic. And the fact that both of the compositions that they used to dismantle Gen G was so different. So different in almost every single way. The way each lane was played out. Very, very varied, but still, same result.
And a good indication of a point I made at the start of the broadcast, where I didn't expect there to be any agreement on the meta. DWG's read is not that we need Sejuani, it's that we can run a high-tempo champion, carries in the top side, and just make it about multiple threats rather than just, hey, let's simulate 2017 spring, tanks in the jungle, fighting through an 80 carry meta. That's not happening here. They're having multiple threats. Nogari is the carry threat, and he also justifies all the attention paid in the trash talk before this game, because he was the god Nogari in game number 2 that carried DWG Gaming to the victory when push came to shove. As I tried to say a couple of times at the start of the game, it becomes the point where Vladimir feels like Vladimir Orianna shockwave combo, Malphite Orianna shockwave combo alone. He gets in there, you can't peel him away, and his AoE damage is insane. The death cap was the first instinct, and the last kill, the greatest indication.
Yeah, Nogari just so dominant, and both on late game carries. First the Gangplank, then the Vladimir. It'd be no surprise if he picked up that MVP. We'll be finding out about that one very, very soon. But if it's Canyon and Nogari that come out as both of our MVPs, then I guess all of the thoughts that we had coming into this series have really been validated, because they were definitely the players to watch throughout the Kesper Cup and had a lot to be spoken about. And I'm so glad that they've demonstrated exactly what they're capable of in their debut match here in the LCK.
If you're a team looking to deal with DWG Gaming, the only reliable way we've seen to shut them down is not kill Nogari 10 times. We know he's still going to push up on a Victor and die. It's control Canyon. If Canyon is second to the plays, if he's being shadowed by Tarzan or something Score has done to junglers in the past, I feel like DWG's game plan falls apart a bit and you see their rookie tendencies. But while Canyon wasn't the star of game number 2, he was in a good matchup skirmish-wise. Sejuani, of course, much more about the setup. They never gave any chances for the Sejuani ult to punish them in a meaningful way. And then a couple of Talia walls later, Vladimir did the hard work, and the game was well-deserved victory for the side of DWG.
Yeah, absolutely. And also able to get that first blood for the bottom lane as well, which I think would have been imperative. Otherwise, we saw what Ruler did anyway, despite that. There was a 2-kill lead going over to DWG Gaming, but still Ruler was ahead by about 20 CS, just dominating both of those players. So having a good time down there still, but just wasn't the same at the end of the game.
And you know why we're lucky, Atlas?
Why are we lucky, Papa?
The team I would have had most likely to fall off the top 7, bottom 3 divide would have been DWG, because they're the most unproven of the top teams. They've already proven that they're around. I think Gen G will grow and grow some synergy, because once again here, they couldn't really integrate their their tools here to actually organize it into something that made sense over the course of 30, 35-minute games. They'll go back, they'll learn from this. They have a very organized and experienced coaching staff, but well-deserved victory, Damwon.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff. And I like that you bring up the fact that Gen G, you know, they will grow and evolve. They dropped their first match, I think, Kongdu Monster, when we saw them in 2018. We are going to get some highlights here from the game. And this was how it all started. Canyon lands his first seismic shove and feels a lot like TF in his first Destiny. If you land your first one, you feel pretty good about the rest of the game.
And this is a really clean turret dive we saw on the top side. No, he didn't even need to ult, but understandably just used it because it came off cooldown. This is where Canyon walked up too far. This is a rookie mistake. And solo queue get away with this, but going up with no cleanse and getting killed was no surprise whatsoever. When the good news started rolling in for Damwon, it really went to the next degree. This ended up being a lot closer of a fight than we might have anticipated. 1-for-1 as it extended. But after this, Damwon never backed away. They loaded up and went more aggressive. And if you remember, it was the turret dive into the Baron that's on screen right now that really allowed them to close out the game.
Yeah, and Cuvée thought he was getting the jump on Nuclear right here, and instead he was sealing the game for Gen G, because Nuclear just turned on him and said, well, I got an Infinity Edge now, man. I'm just going to kill you. And he did. Felt like that was that.
Right now, if you look at two squads and say, well, I know more of the players on this side, they're the favorites. Never has that been a more risky way to do your tipping, Atlas, because Gen G have a collection of pretty well-known players, and yet Damwon was significantly better than them. Griffin was the first warning signing. Damwon is the second. The new generation is here, and it proved far too good for the side of Gen G.
And I feel like we've got almost the same damage graphs. We've got one champion doing bogus damage on the side of Gen G, but not finding the victory, and then Damwon, all fairly level, fairly similar, playing as a unit, take people down when it counted. And of course, Vladimir is going to take a lot of abuse and then heal it all back up again. So you could imagine that the Victor is going to be doing a lot of damage.
And it was a lot of AoE abilities ticking, but not actually in life-threatening situations for the side of Damwon. Again, it's the sort of damage that frustrates you, but unlikely to be lethal. And that was the big separator there. We didn't get late enough for Hemoblade to be doing like 8,000 damage in an AoE. We weren't too far away. Look at this. Nuggery will not pick up the MVP. And it's going to be actually Nuclear who the voters prefer. 75% kill participation, but did not die. And that last pick onto Cuvée did lead to the match-winning moment for the side of Damwon game.
It did certainly start the avalanche that was Damwon at the end of that game. However, I think due to his laning phase, I wouldn't have necessarily given it to him.
You guys are wondering, in the Riot system, it's no caster votes for us. There's a panel of people that are put together to be the brains trust.
We get to be the judges.
We get to be the peanut gallery, literally, not just talking about the player and laugh and compliment choices as we see fit. I don't know if there was a fear beyond death in this game, but it didn't matter.
I didn't really see one land. That is definitely true. A lot of flash disdains, though, coming in from Showmaker, who was able to utilize that very, very nicely. Life, we know, wasn't able to make his way out of that one either, and that meant Baron, that meant game.
Really cool. I just want to see more Damwon. Kind of when Griffin took their first 4 victories in LCK Summer, like, okay, we need to see them against the best teams. I just need to see a full round robin from Damwon to see what sort of teams they reliably beat and what sort of teams they struggle against.
Exactly right, but I want to hear an MVP interview, so we are going to throw it over to Jisun to get some translation.
Thank you very much. This is Jisun with your interpret translation, and we're going to join by Canyon and Nuclear from Damwon Gaming, picking up a 2-2-0 victory today. So it was your first LCK game. How was it? It was better than I expected, so I'm really satisfied.
아주 흐뭇한 표정으로 말씀을 해주셨는데요.
I can see that you're really
무대에
happy.
올라서 실제로 경기를 해보니까 마음가짐이 많이 달랐나요?
Mindset did you have in mind before going into games?
캐스파컵 때 제가 한번 뛰어봐서
During
좀
the Caspa
적응이
Cup,
된
I
것
did
같아요.
have some experience on stage, so I wasn't really that nervous.
캐스파컵 때 담원이 좋은 모습을 보여줘서
A lot of fans were expecting a
스프링까지
lot from
이어지지 않을까
Damwon since you
생각을
guys were
했는데
performing so
팀
great
분위기가
at Caspa
계속해서
Cup.
좋았던 거죠?
팀
And
분위기는
you know,
뭐
yeah, our
항상
atmosphere is
좋기
always
때문에
good is always
좋은 것
good,
같아요.
and I think we're
네,
all
우리
ready
두
to
번째
go
경기
through the rest of the
MVP
LCK.
차지하신 뉴클리어 선수 소감 한
And let's
말씀
move
먼저
on to
부탁드립니다.
Nuclear, the MVP of the game too.
LCK 오랜만에 무대 서게 됐는데
It has been a while
첫
for me
경기
to perform
이제
at LCK.
이기게 돼가지고 다음
I'm really
경기까지
happy to
기세
pick up
타서
the first
또 좋은
victory
경기 할
for
수 있을
me.
것 같아서
And I think this is
되게
a good
기분이
signal for
좋아요.
me to pick
네,
up
첫
another
상대가
victory
룰러
in the
박재혁
upcoming matchups.
선수였어요. 좀 부담되지는 않으셨나요?
Wasn't facing ruler in
지금
bot
아무래도
lane
9대
a big
원딜이라는
pressure for
별명이
you?
있을 정도로 되게 잘하시고
I mean, he's
폼도
the
되게
number one AD
좋으신데
carry in Korea. He
그래서
was the country representative,
부담감이라기보다는
but
뭔가
actually there was
이
nothing like
경기
a pressure.
이기면은
But
우리가 더
I
기세
felt like
타겠다 약간 그런
if we
생각을
just
했던
can
것
get
같아요.
over this, I
아마
think it
룰러
will be a
선수
really
만날
good chance for
거라고
us for the
예상을
rest of the
하셨을
split.
텐데 특별히 룰러 선수 상대로
Did you
연습을
prepare
하시거나
anything
준비하신 게
special
있으신가요?
to bring any special cards to bring against ruler?
세기 때문에
I know
그센
both of the
바텀 라인을
Genji
어떻게
bot
하면 좀
duos are
봉쇄할
so
수
strong in laning
하면서
phase,
플레이할 수
so
있을까
I just
그거를
wanted to
좀
avoid
생각했던 것
letting them
같아요.
play those
네,
aggressive
역시
plays.
대비가 되어 있었던 걸로 생각을 하겠습니다. 자, 그럼 다시 캐니언 선수께 여쭤볼게요.
back to Canyon.
저는 궁극기인 은신을 활용해서 이렇게 뒤로
Your
돌아가는
ultimate
모습이
was so
너무너무
perfect, always catching the
인상적이었어요.
back line.
그때 와드를 지우지 않으셨는데
You didn't
일부러
get
지우지
rid of the
않으신
ward.
거죠?
Was that
네,
on your
이게
purpose?
와드를 안 지으면 좀 뭐라 해야 되지? 상대가 방심하는
Yeah.
그게
If I don't get rid of the
좀 나올
ward,
수 있는
the
확률이
opponent
있어서
might be
그러니까
kind of be a little bit less
그렇게
alert.
해서 그냥 안 지었어요.
네, 그때 그런 상황을 팀원들과 다 이미 약속이
Was that
되어
all
있었던 건가요?
planned, or
팀원들은
it
다
was
알고
your
있었나요?
own play?
그냥 각 보면 좀 간다고
Well, I just saw the
하고
angle
그냥
coming, so I just went
그렇게
in.
열리는 것 같아. 안타가.
그러면 특별히 미리 약속하는 거
So
없이
it wasn't
나
a
지금
planned
간다
play,
하고
right?
한타 열리고
네.
좋은 결과를 내고
네, 그런
네.
식으로 하는 것 같아요.
그럼 뉴클리어 선수
And moving on
이런
to
게
Nuclear.
바로 담원 게이밍의 힘이 아닐까 싶은데
Is that why
사실
Damwon is so
스크림의
perfect?
패왕이다 이런
Everyone
말까지
has been saying that
스크림을 잘하는 방법
Damwon is the screen
뭐가
god.
있을까요?
아무래도
What are your tricks?
저희 코치진 분들께서
Our coaching staff,
저희한테 최대한 부담을 안
they are
주시려고
doing their
노력하고
best
또
to get
그만큼
rid of the
좋은
pressure on our
뱀픽도
shoulders.
여러 가지
They
방법을
always
신경
come up
많이
with the best
써주시기
draft
때문에
and also
그런 게 좀
all
큰
their
것 같아요.
things
아무래도
outside of the
마음가짐도 되게
games.
편한 게 가장 플레이할 수
So I think
있는데
we are
가장
feeling really comfortable
편안한
about
길이
preparing
아닌가
all the
싶어요.
matches.
뱀픽 얘기가 나와서 말인데 사실
So moving on to
자야라칸을
draft.
픽하고 나서 카운터인 레오나가 나왔단 말이에요.
Well,
좀 뭐
actually, Genji
상관없다
brought
생각하셨나요?
Leona, which is a
저희가
counter pick for Zaya and Rakan.
SKT 상대로도 SK 바텀도 세고 젠지 바텀도 다 세다고
So
생각해서
SKT, their bot duos are strong, and
그런
Genji, their bot duos are
픽들을
strong. So
스크림에서 아마 스크림에서 실험을 많이 해봤는데
we have tried a lot of different
그
experiments
구도를
during the
했을
scrims,
때 아무래도 저희가 자신 있는 매치업이었던 것
and
같아요.
that was the most
이미
confident
또 대비가 되어 있었던
composition that
담원
we are
게이밍
feeling most comfortable with.
캐니언 선수 아무래도 첫 경기에서 젠지라는
캐니언,
강한 상대를 만났기
It wasn't
때문에
an easy
마음이
match
부담이 조금
facing
있었을
a
것
big
같아요.
favorite Genji.
어땠나요?
How was it?
저는 우리 팀이 다 잘하는 걸 알기
I know
때문에
that all my teammates are so
그렇게까지
good.
긴장 안 했고
I wasn't really
좀 살짝
nervous.
긴장하긴
Maybe just a
한
little
것
bit.
같아요.
네, 뉴클리어 선수는 개인적으로
about you,
캐니언 선수에
Nuclear?
대해서 믿음직하다고 생각을
Do you
하시나요?
trust Canyon a lot?
아무래도 신인이고 막내다 보니까
Well, he's the youngest
좀
player. He's
철없는
a
부분이
rookie.
있긴 한데
So
그래도
sometimes he's a little bit silly or
믿음직한
really
것 같아요.
childish,
되게
but
연습 때도
I do
잘하고
trust
경기
him.
때도 잘하고 네, 많이
네.
믿고 있어요.
이렇게 듬직한 캐니언 선수가 철없는 부분이 있다고.
Why did you find him
있으신가요?
childish?
아무래도 이제 연습하거나 숙소
During the
생활을 할 때
practice or at our gaming house?
숙소 생활을 할 때 이제 막내다 보니까
Well, he's the youngest member,
가끔씩
so
뭐 막내로서 해야 할 부분들을 안 할 때도 많고
he doesn't
그런 뭐
do
사적인 부분
things that he
그런
has to do
부분들.
as the youngest
알겠습니다.
person in our
하지만
team,
경기할
but that's a little
때만큼은
bit private, so I'm not going to make it
같은 모습을
specific.
보여주는 캐니언 선수입니다. 네, 특히 첫 번째 경기에서 활약이
So moving on
엄청
to game
인상적이었고요. MVP 몰표 받으셨어요.
You have all votes on you.
축하드립니다.
Congratulations.
네, 뉴클리어 선수도
And Nuclear,
축하드립니다.
you too.
감사합니다.
네, 저희 마지막으로 이번
So lastly,
LCK 스프링 또는 이번 해 끝까지
is
멀리
there
가서
any last word,
가고
last message
한 말씀
about
들어볼까요?
LCK this split or this whole year?
항상 그 좀 게을러지지 않고 열심히 해서 계속 잘해지도록 하겠습니다.
I'll keep on working day and night and
이제
do my best
저희를
for all
처음
the
보시는
games.
분들 많을 텐데
I know we are new
재밌는 경기
faces.
앞으로 또 많이
I'm gonna promise
해가지고
to bring much more
저희한테
exciting games for the
입덕하실 수
fans
있게
and
더
become our
열심히
fans.
하겠습니다.
Make you guys become our
감사합니다.
fans. Thank you.
네, 와 박수가 나왔어요. 오늘부터 저도
It's a
입덕하도록
warm
하겠습니다.
round of applause
지금까지
going to you
캐니언
guys.
선수
And
그리고
this will be
뉴클리어
the end of
선수와
the interview with
함께했습니다.
Canyon and
저희는
Nuclear
내일
from
만날게요.
Damwon Gaming. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the translation as well, Ji-sun. And that is going to put a close to our first ever Lowell Park LCK experience. So glad you guys could hang around with us. It was a really, really great day.
A lot of stories take away DWG Gaming already. The big surprise in terms of results. Tomorrow we come back with a couple of fun matches. I'm really looking forward to match number 2. Kingzone versus finally debuting Casper Cup champions Griffin. Griffin are going to be looking to repeat their heroics of the first round robin of summer. They went 8-1 in that round robin. Hard to go much better than that.
That's exactly right. And Kingzone looking to try and prove themselves because they went 0-2 in the Casper Cup and didn't look that great at all. They've got a very new roster, very familiar faces certainly with Porn and Def joining that lineup, but see exactly what is going to happen. Their former team, KT, is going to be taking on Hanwha Life Esports in our first matchup of the day. So Hanwha wanting to get some redemption from what was a pretty woeful Casper experience.
KT will also come in as LCK reigning champions.
Exactly.
Now, of that starting lineup, they only have Smeb and Score. Everything else is changing, and who knows, Umti was the one preferred, and also Score was having some medical issues, means he didn't play in the Casper Cup. Even just seeing Score in Low Park will be a treat, given this is expected to be his final year of competition. They come in heavy favorites against Hanwha Life, but we'll see how good they really are.
Yeah, exactly right. And of course, Umti did play brilliantly for KT as well, but that's going to be it from us. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for more LCK 2019.